Hello, my name is Tylluan Penry. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. Today's little chat is titled The Crone versus the Elder. It's a little bit misleading because it's not really a question of verses. It's not a great row or an argument, but it's something I've picked up on sometimes. You know, when you go to school, and certainly back in my day, the female teachers were always called Miss. But what did they call the male teachers? Sir. Now, if you've done certain good deeds or been in with the right people or what have you, in this country, in the UK, you can be knighted and then you become a Sir. Nobody bestows the title Miss upon you. But in schools, and this is when we're at our impressionable age, in schools you get Miss, and then the male teachers are Sir. And in very much the same way, I'm sorry to say, I've seen a certain amount of this turn up in the world of paganism and witches, where somebody, a man, said to me once, of course, I'm not a crone, I'm an elder. And immediately he has elevated himself higher than anybody else. Because there is no female elder. I mean, back in my day, you had actor and actress. You had executor and executrix for a will. It was very gender-based. And it's a good job we've got rid of all this. We can call everybody an actor regardless of gender because it's such a fluid thing, how we view ourselves, how we view our gender. I have no problem with that, but I do get a problem when people start saying, oh yes, well of course I'm an elder. And I think, now what are you really telling me? Because it usually goes with this rather superior, smirky attitude. Again, going back to childhood, because this is where a lot of these things starts. It's very much kin of that I'm the king of the castle kind of attitude. You can't touch me. I'm the king of the castle. I'm an elder. You're a crone. And of course, crone has a lot of derogatory... just move the lights. If I suddenly go completely dark, that's what it is. He's had the light down. We've had to tie it, actually. A lot of these things, going back to what I was saying, a lot of these things start in childhood. And this is why it is so important. We have language, and language tends to give a pejorative element, an element which is not very nice to the word crone. She's an old crone. We very rarely say she's a wise crone or a kindly crone or even something neutral, she's a tall crone, she's a short crone. We don't. We tend to use it very pejoratively, same as we do with witch. But elder, elder implies wisdom. Elder implies lots of different things. A benign aspect. So I do think, although I'm not saying we ought to go gender mad, and I'll probably have somebody come on here and accuse me of being a rabid feminist, not that I would take that pejoratively, but where I do think we have to be careful is that we don't mindlessly or unthinkingly slip into the mistake of throwing off one set of shackles and then chaining ourselves with something else. I really don't. I see nothing pejorative in crone. I've been called an awful lot worse in my time, I can tell you. But I do see something very wrong when certain sections of the pagan community desire to be known as elders. I do, I'm sorry, I'm nailing my colours to the mast here. I do think it's not the best way to go because it is the start of a very slippery slope. And all of a sudden you will find that certain people are being pushed to the background. And since most of the people who watch these videos are solitaries, most, not all, but most, people who have nobody else to ask, nobody else to talk to them about these things, it is vitally important we get this across. Do not suddenly slip away from one set of shackles and put on another. It's not the way to go. We can be witches, we can call ourselves crones when we get into the older side of life. I mean, I used to like the wise woman and the cunning man, because cunning was actually a word that was used long ago to denote magic. You find it in the Odyssey, where Odysseus is often described as cunning. And it's not just he's cunning or crafty in the sense that he's sly, it's the sense that he could employ magic, he could employ the gods, he could do things that other people couldn't. So I do think, be careful with this one. When you see it, spot it, correct it if you can. I mean, don't get into a fight about it, please don't do that. But at least be aware of it. Don't slide that route. It's not the way we ought to be going. We may be solitary, we may be in a group, but you be very careful if you allow someone to call themselves an elder. And please don't even think about doing it for yourselves. It's not the best term. There are better ones. Find something better. A little less superior, if you like, because it's claiming something for oneself that we really don't have the right to claim, you know? I can't claim to be an elder. I mean, for heaven's sake, you know, I might be old, but I'm not an elder. I'm just somebody who sits in a kitchen and makes videos and writes books and things like that. Anyway, look, I won't rabbit on too much longer. You've probably had enough of this by now. But I do hope you take it on board and have a think about it, because that's all we can do, is have a think about these things. And thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.